I said only insecure men want monogamy. Now he's sleeping with someone else. I used to think I had love figured out. I used to think I was evolved. I said only insecure men want monogamy. And now he's sleeping with someone else. And the worst part? I can't even blame him. My name's Mara. I'm 31, a writer who spends too much time inside her own head and too much money on oat milk lattes. I live in Portland now, but a few years ago, I thought I had the perfect marriage, the kind that looks modern and fearless from the outside. Back then, I built my whole personality around being the chill girl, the one who didn't get jealous, didn't cling, didn't need labels. I wore that independence like armor. I told myself I was too wise, too emotionally advanced to believe in something as old-fashioned as faithfulness. Then I met Eli. He was different from anyone I'd known. Steady, thoughtful, the kind of guy who didn't have to fill every silence with noise. He came into the cafe where I worked, always polite, always smiling like he knew something gentle about the world that I hadn't learned yet. He'd order a black Americano with a little oat milk, no sugar, always the same. He'd sit near the window and read, sometimes for an hour. I started timing my breaks around when he came in. One day, I wrote my number on his cup. That night, he texted, "Does this come with a free refill?" That was it. That was the spark. We started seeing each other, slowly at first. He was the kind of man who asked before he touched your hand, who remembered what you said a week later, who didn't rush. Eli didn't have some wild career or social life. He worked at a small financial firm, owned a beat-up Jeep, and still called his mom every Sunday. But he listened, and for someone like me, who talked too much, thought too much, that felt like magic. We got married 2 years later. Small wedding, backyard, string lights. It was perfect. But from the start, I made sure he knew who I was. I told him that I didn't believe in monogamy, that people weren't built to belong to one person forever, that jealousy was just a symptom of insecurity. And Eli, bless him, never argued. He'd just smile a little and say, "If that's what makes you happy, Mara, I'll trust you." I took that as a sign of strength, proof that I was right. For a while, everything felt effortless. We both worked, had separate hobbies, separate friends. We were close but never suffocating. I used to brag to my friends that Eli and I were free, that we were proof you could love someone without owning them. But looking back now, I can see it. That freedom I worshipped so much, it wasn't confidence. It was fear. Fear of needing someone too much. Fear of being ordinary. By our 3rd anniversary, something started to shift. The passion dulled a little. The days began to blur. I told myself it was normal. Routine, adulthood, whatever. But secretly, I missed the thrill. Then I met Jace again. We'd gone to college together, creative writing class. Back then, he was all charm and chaos, the kind of guy who could make a group laugh with 2 words. At a friend's housewarming, he walked in like a ghost from another life. Same crooked smile, same spark in his eyes. We talked for hours that night. I felt something flicker that hadn't burned in years. After that, it was daily texts. Innocent at first, then deeper, then dangerous. I told myself it was harmless. Connection doesn't have to be physical, right? But every time my phone lit up with his name, something inside me hummed. And that's when the thought began to creep in again. Maybe it's time to live what I've always preached. So one Sunday morning, over coffee, I brought it up to Eli. "You know, I've always believed monogamy is kind of outdated," I said carefully. "I think we should consider opening things up a little. It's just about honesty and freedom. Real love doesn't have to mean ownership, right?" He looked at me for a long time. I'll never forget that pause. Then he asked quietly, "Are you seeing someone else?" I laughed, deflecting, my cheeks burning. No, Eli, this isn't about anyone. It's just an idea. He nodded slowly. Okay, I'll think about it. But he didn't sleep much that week. I could tell. I kept pushing, bringing it up in every conversation. Articles about polyamory just happened to be open on my laptop. I made it sound noble, philosophical. I said only insecure men need monogamy. I can still hear myself saying those words. And I can still see the way they cracked something in him. 2 weeks later, he said, "If this is what you want, we'll try." And I thought that was love. That his silence meant understanding. But it was surrender. I told Jace everything. He hesitated, asked if Eli was really okay with it. I said yes before I even let myself think. Our first date was a blur of adrenaline. I felt young again, reckless, alive. I came home glowing, humming under my breath. Eli was sitting on the couch, watching some late-night show. "You look nice," he said softly. And guilt, sharp, small, stabbed at me. But I buried it. Weeks passed. I kept seeing Jace. Eli kept pretending he didn't notice. Until I realized, maybe he really didn't care anymore. He started working out, staying late at the office, new clothes, new scent. He looked good, better even, but he was distant. Then one morning, I saw a name on the phone bill. Tara. When I asked, he said she was a coworker. I nodded, pretending not to care, but my heart was pounding. A few weeks later, he started smiling at his phone, laughing to himself. Something about it twisted in my chest. I tried to ignore it until the day I couldn't. I went to surprise him at work with lunch, parked across the street. That's when I saw him, walking with a woman. Tall, blonde, graceful. She reached for his hand as they crossed the street. He didn't pull away. He leaned in and kissed her. It was like the air was punched out of my lungs. I sat in the car for almost an hour, just staring, my hands shaking on the wheel. That night, when he came home, I asked, "Who's Tara?" He froze. "I told you, a coworker." "She kissed you, Eli." He looked at me for a long moment, then said quietly, "Yeah, she did." "How long?" "A few months, since you started seeing Jace." My world tilted. "You're with her?" He shrugged a little. "You wanted an open relationship, Mara. I'm exploring mine." There was no anger in his voice, just calm acceptance, and somehow that hurt the most. I wanted to scream, cry, accuse him of betraying me. But I couldn't. I'd built this. I'd handed him the blueprint for how to hurt me without breaking a single rule. "Do you love her?" I whispered. He hesitated. "I don't know, but I feel seen. Like I don't have to apologize for wanting something real." That was the knife. Because that's what I used to make him feel. We tried to fix it. I ended things with Jace, begged for counseling, therapy, anything. For a while, it even seemed to help. We talked more than we had in years. We laughed again, made plans again. But something was gone. Some invisible thread between us had snapped. He still saw Tara, openly now. He said he needed clarity. I told myself to be patient, but every time he left the house, I felt my stomach twist into knots I swore I didn't believe in. One night, after another argument that ended in silence, he said quietly, "You keep talking about freedom, Mara, but all you ever did was run from closeness. Maybe you were never afraid of being owned. Maybe you were afraid of being loved." I wanted to deny it, to throw his words back at him, but he was right. A few months later, he packed a suitcase. Just a few clothes. He said he needed time apart. I watched him from the doorway, too numb to cry. At the door, he turned back. "You said only insecure men want monogamy," he said softly. "I think you were wrong. Wanting someone, choosing them, isn't insecurity. It's courage." Then he walked out. I didn't chase him. I just stood there staring at the space he left behind. For weeks, I lived in silence. I stopped writing, stopped eating. Every room in the apartment smelled like him, even after I washed everything twice. Eventually, I found out he'd moved in with Tara. She posted a photo, nothing flashy, just them on a hiking trail, her hand on his chest. He looked happy. That's when I broke. Not out of jealousy, but realization. All those years, I'd preached freedom like it was enlightenment. But what I really wanted, what I was too proud to admit, was the safety of being someone's one and only. Months passed. Seasons changed. I started writing again, just journaling at first, trying to make sense of the mess I'd made. Then one day, I sent Eli a letter. No begging, no promises, just honesty. I told him I was wrong. That love isn't about ownership, but it is about devotion. About choosing the same person even when the world says you don't have to. He never wrote back. A year later, I saw him downtown. He didn't see me. He was with her, Tara, laughing, holding her hand. And for the first time, I didn't feel angry. Just hollow. Because I realized something I'd been running from my whole life. Freedom means nothing if you have no one to share it with. So now I'm here, 31, alone, writing the story of how I destroyed the one thing that could have saved me. I said only insecure men want monogamy. Turns out, it wasn't insecurity at all. It was love. And I didn't understand it until it was too late.